Welcome, people of God. I want to share with you a strong word of encouragement. And, as we sit in this 12th month, I feel like more than ever in my life, this is something that I really realize and see that is very profound for me. And on the membership side yesterday, I actually wrote this as a community post. But like I said, I've been really sitting in this, especially starting in February of this month. I've been sitting with it. I feel like I have actually been talking about this a lot, but I've been sitting with Deuteronomy 30 and 19. I've been sitting with that moment where the children of Israel have what is presented. They have something presented in front of them that they've never had before. And that is a choice. That is a choice to choose life or death, to choose a life of blessings and curses. And let me tell you the interesting thing. These people had to walk out this mandate not by who they were being, but by what they were doing. They had to be obedient to the 10 commandments. They had a list of do's and don'ts. And that was effectively their choice in the kind of life that they wanted to live. And one of the things that I understand and I know now, like I've never known before as a Christian, as a believer, is first of all, let me say this, because we don't have that same mandate. We don't. And I know that y'all absolutely love the spectacularness of these Old Testament people, but we are Christians. We get to rest in the finished work of the cross. We get to believe that where sin abounds, grace much more abounds. We get to call for mercy. We get to call for grace. We get to understand and know I am not stuck here in the most painful, despairing, disrespectful, horrible moment of my life. I get to be the person that knows that I am going to get past this. I am going to get past this pain. I am going to get past this hurt. I am going to get past this loss. I am going to get past this attack. It is, and it has been challenging for me when people want me to meet them in their pain point. When people want to accuse me of challenging their doctrine of how iffy God is and God may or may not, I want to blame God. People have accused me of toxic positivity. Listen, everything concerning the mandate of a prophet is to move God's people from where you are to where you're going. You don't need me to meet you at your pain point. You could talk to your homie for that. You can call a family member for that. You don't need me for that, especially not paying me for one. You don't need me for that. You don't. You can be challenged and saying, oh, you just want to always make God seem good and woo woo woo. And I'm not getting ready to fight y'all on what it is you feel like frustrates you about God. I lived that way for a long time, having a very human experience with God. Just and I'm gonna be real natural about this. Growing up as a person of color in the South in church, salvation meant two things: don't sin and you ain't going to hell. But life more abundantly, no. Sickness, it's a wrap. You don't have nothing, church don't have no money, we'll do a fish fry. But life more abundantly was not nothing. I had to grow in that. And while I was growing in that, life was still lifing. Even here, being here preaching to y'all, I've still had family members pass away. I've still had life be lifing. I've still been challenged. I've still cried. I've still wanted to not have a choice. I've still wanted for God to meet me right where I was. It does not, you can feel what you feel, how you feel, when you feel, for as long as you feel it. But this house will always be a word of encouragement and edification for you. That won't turn off. That is my mandate from God. It won't turn off. I can either be in a place of understanding for where you are or understanding for where you're going. I can either tell you and validate where you are. You don't need me to validate where you are. You know how you feel. You know what you're going through. You know how long you want to be there. The issue that Moses had with these people is, listen, and God told Moses, These people have been miserable. These people know struggling. These people are stuck. You would think the easiest thing in the world to tell somebody who's been oppressed their whole life is that this too shall pass. Don't look like it. Don't feel like it. And trust and believe that the enemy, the God of this world, will be right there to validate you. You're not going to get past this. This will be the thing that's going to wipe you out. You can't make it. Your life looked worse than it did at the beginning of the year, or your life looked the same. You're not going to make it. Trust and believe that that one who's a liar, that Jesus says was a murderer since the beginning, he will be right there. That will be the voice that will tell you you're not going to make it. And every moment of every day, you have a choice. You have a choice. I felt frustrated with God. I didn't want to have a choice. I didn't want to have a choice. It was all fun and games to want to have a choice and life goes well until I was in something and I don't want to have a choice right now. I don't want to have a choice. The children of Israel was like, yeah, them giants, yeah, not so much. The thing that I lean into and that I want to teach y'all all day, every day, is listen, God is not a God. John 4:24 says God is a spirit. We got to move past this elementary mindset of continuing to want to have a human experience with God. As long as we are in this world, the Messiah said there is trouble in this world. But guess what? As a Christian, it is in our relationship with the Messiah that we get to be a part of the overcoming of the world. We get to be in on that. I don't care who lived their best life. Listen, they did not have the finished work of the cross to lean on. They did not. That's what I have as a believer. That's what I have as a Christian. All right, I'm not a Mosian. I'm not a Jobian. I'm not none of them. I'm a Christian. And the word of the Lord is that I'm telling you, you get to decide with all hell around you. You get to decide, I am more than a conqueror. There is nothing that I am going to allow, Paul says, to separate me from the love of God. Shall destruction, shall death, shall demons. Because if I don't believe that I have the love of God on my side, then why am I even in this? I can go to the world. I can go to these religions that have idols that are not alive. Why am I here? Why am I here in this thing if all I want to do is escape hell? I did not understand the working out of being new. I did not understand that I would get to see the goodness of God in the land of the living. That took me having a relationship with God. That took me having to know God for myself. That took days, weeks, years, seasons of what felt like isolation and silence and nothing happening. And me and my humanity, I'm always gauging God by the outside. God said, listen, it is Satan that's the God of this world. You want to gauge what's going on by the world? You ain't looking at me then. You looking at the enemy. Listen, for God so loved the world. Everything points to the finished work of the cross. I would not be walking in what God has mandated that I walk in if all I ever do is be a voice of meeting you where you are. And if that means that people want to draw me into what is or is not happening, if that means that people want to accuse me of toxic positivity, if that means that people want to feel like you always talking this false doctrine that just makes God seem good all the time, that his plans and purposes for me are of good and not of evil. Sounds like the Bible there, but you want to act like literally it's going to be life more abundantly, but it's not looking like that. Of course it's not looking like that because you've identified with, you are years of the contrary. And like I said, when life was doing whatever life was, there were long seasons where I just wallowed in that. And I felt validated and justified in that. And for anybody that feels that, feel what you feel. But I would not be walking in what God has mandated for me to walk in without being the voice of encouragement to let you know that on the other side of this thing, on the other side of what feels like this moment that the devil wants to tell you it's a wrap, there is abundant life on the other side of this. And maybe somebody is in too much discouragement, too much despair, too much destruction to believe that, but it's still true. It is still true. The promises of God, regardless of how iffy denominations has tried to make it feel, are still yes and amen. There's still things that we go through that we don't understand. There's still things where we feel like we got left behind, we got failed. God is still God. In those moments when I couldn't locate God and I questioned God and God, what happened? God had to tell me and remind me, I'm still God, sis. I'm still God. I'm still God. That's when you know you in the trenches with God, when everything in your life don't look like God. This is amazingly what God had to tell Joshua as he was walking in his new. This is, help me, Jesus. Help me, Jesus. On the other side of this moment, right? On the other side of this moment, God is still God. You are not forgotten. You are not forsaken. You are not, none of that weak, pitiful stuff that so easily comes out of y'all when it's looking like, just always looking at life for this immediate, almost just this immediate confirmation of God being God. And when I started to understand and challenge what I saw by what I believed, I was like, oh, this is what it means when I walk by faith and not by sight. Oh, see, we think that means when we don't see nothing. No, that means when you see something too, and it ain't what you want to see. It means that too. I want to encourage you. I want to talk to you. I want to let you know this will always be a place. I can't not run away from the mandate of God, that this will always be a place that will always be wanting and cheering and moving you past the worst moments in your life. I would not be walking out the assignment that God has given for me to do or speak anything other than that. I will always be the voice. And listen, if that makes people feel however they feel, it is what it is. It is what it is. Somebody sent me a message a few days ago, and they said to me, what you're saying is like a hard truth, right? But you have to understand that people didn't even get Jesus when Jesus was saying what he was saying. His own disciples, right? Some of them was like, we out. It seemed at moments that Jesus wasn't sensitive. When Mary and Martha called for him and he didn't come immediately, when there's a man that he calls into ministry to come with him and the man is burying his daddy, and Jesus is like, let the dead bury the dead, like, oh, ouch, okay. I mean, and it does not. And y'all got to stop being so thinking that means you don't get to feel. I don't give you permission to feel what you feel or validate what you feel. I just want to be the encouragement to let you know that on the other side of this moment, on the other side of everything that is looking like this thing is going to take you out, that is not. And I can't not say that. I can't not say that. If that makes you feel some type of way in the moment, I get it, but I cannot not speak life into people. I cannot not speak light into people. I cannot tell you that on the other side of this moment is life more abundantly. On the other side is life more abundantly. That you get to overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of his testimony. I have never been allowed to put disclaimers on anything that God has poured through me. I have never been allowed to water down the absolute magnificence of who God is, the power and the sovereignty of who God is. Even when in my own life, even when in my own life, and the people that are assigned here, that life is absolutely feeling like it's out of control. So as we are in this 12th month, right, and the finality of this year is coming, I want you to know that the plans and purposes of God are not gone. They're not gone. They're not bowing down to whatever it is you're going through. They're not. They are still unfolding. They are. So I just want to encourage you with where you are. I just want you to understand and know how much God loves you, how much God is for you, how wonderful and magnificent God is. And I know you may be challenged with believing that, but I will be the voice that right now maybe you don't feel like you have to let you know that in your life is life more abundantly, that you shall live and not die, that you will see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living.